Have you ever felt like you were working twice as hard just to stay in the same place? Like no matter how many books you read, podcasts you binge, or skills you try to patch up, something inside still whispers, "This isn't it. This isn't me." If that sounds familiar, this story is for you. Welcome to episode 13 of our journey, and after 12 stories of courage, clarity, and transformation, this one takes a new turn, because it isn't just about change, it's about truth, and what happens when you finally understand how your brain is wired to succeed. Let me tell you about someone named Theo. At first glance, Theo looked like he had it all together. He had a steady job at a reputable company, was known for being reliable, had a color-coded calendar, and even got occasional praise from teammates. Team player, detail-oriented, always shows up. From the outside, it looked like smooth sailing, but what no one saw, not even Theo himself, was the hidden cost of holding it all together. Behind the scenes, he was constantly scanning for what he was doing wrong, always signing up for new online courses, reading every self-improvement article he could find, trying to emulate productivity hacks from people who didn't live his life. His strategy? Fix the flaws. If he could just correct what he lacked, become better at presentations, learn to think faster on his feet, be more assertive, more charismatic, then maybe, just maybe, he'd finally feel confident. Maybe he'd finally feel enough. That was Theo's ordinary world, one where growth felt like punishment, like pushing a boulder uphill with no break in sight. Until one day, something subtle cracked through. It happened during a quiet lunch break. Theo was sitting alone on a park bench scrolling. He wasn't looking for insight, just distraction. Then a headline popped up. "The science behind strengths, why it's not just a feel-good trend." He almost skipped it. Another fluff piece, he thought. But something about the phrase "science behind strengths" made him pause. Maybe it wasn't fluff. He clicked. The article unpacked how our brains actually reinforce and reward us when we use our natural strengths. Dopamine, motivation circuits, neuroplasticity, the works. It said that when we lean into what already feels energizing and easy, we don't just feel better, we perform better, grow faster, build confidence organically. It was the first time Theo's deeply held idea of fixing himself into success began to wobble. But he still resisted. "That's not real development," he argued to himself. "That's just doing what's easy." In his mind, growth meant pain, discomfort, sacrifice. He thought of all the top performers he admired. They seemed well-rounded, good at everything. "I'm not one of those people," he told himself. "I can't afford to just do what I'm good at." But then came the moment that changed everything. During a regular check-in, his mentor, someone he respected deeply, noticed his hesitation about leading a new initiative. Theo mumbled something about not being the right fit, that he wasn't strategic enough. She paused, tilted her head and said, "Theo, every strength is just a skill in disguise. One you've already been practicing, even if you didn't notice." The words hit him like lightning. That night, for the first time in months, Theo opened his old journal. He didn't write about goals or fears or productivity plans. He asked himself one question: what comes easy to me, even when I'm not trying? And slowly, the list formed. Spotting patterns that others miss. Breaking down chaos into structure, listening deeply and reframing problems, finding clarity in complexity. They weren't on any top 10 high-income skills list. They weren't the loudest talents in the room. But they were real, they were his, and for the first time he crossed the threshold. From that point on, Theo began making small shifts. Not grand declarations, not a career pivot, just experiments. He volunteered to help redesign a project workflow, not because he was the loudest voice in the room, but because he saw how inefficient the system was. He started saying yes to tasks that needed clarity, not charisma. He built a dashboard to help his team visualize progress. No one asked for it. But once they saw it, they couldn't imagine working without it. It wasn't magic. It wasn't instant. He still had days when he spiraled, still doubted himself when others were louder, flashier, more well-rounded. But something deeper had shifted. He was no longer performing to prove. he was building to align. And then came the real test. A major company-wide challenge was launched. Messy timelines, conflicting goals, cross-functional teams. Old Theo would have stayed quiet, played safe, avoided the spotlight, but this time he approached it like a puzzle. He mapped out workflows, spotted blind spots, coordinated touch points. He didn't lead the meetings, but he made sure they had purpose. He didn't shout the loudest, but he solved what no one else could see. When the dust settled, his manager pulled him aside and said, "You were the backbone of this whole thing." And Theo felt it. Not relief, not surprise, recognition, not just from others, but from himself. From there, things moved quickly. He stopped signing up for every skill course. He stopped measuring his worth against what he wasn't. He started mapping his growth plan around his strengths, took a role that let him build systems, started mentoring others in clarity-based thinking, even gave a short talk on hidden strengths in teamwork. And here's the twist that no one talks about. That's when growth exploded. Not because he became someone new, but because he finally stopped pretending he had to. There was one final moment that sealed it. A junior teammate, fresh out of university, pulled him aside one day. "How do you stay so grounded during tough projects?" they asked. Theo smiled, remembering his own chaos just a year ago. And then he said something he hadn't rehearsed. Confidence doesn't come from being good at everything. It comes from knowing exactly what you bring and using it like it matters. So now I'll turn the mirror toward you. What if your strengths aren't accidents? What if your brain is already showing you the way? Every time something feels energizing, natural, alive? And what would happen if you stopped trying to fix the parts that aren't you and started building with the parts that are? You don't need to be everything. You just need to be more you. Remember what Theo learned? Confidence doesn't come from being good at everything. It comes from knowing exactly what you bring and using it like it matters.